class's behalf, I'd like to thank all the teachers for their time and endless efforts to guide and support us through the years. Thank you to the class sponsors, Mrs. Svino and Mr. Kingma, for always being there when we needed a friend or a mentor. Along with that, thank you to Mr. French and Mrs. Williams for also giving their endless support. You have helped create memories that have made lasting impressions on our minds. I think I speak for everyone here when I say we love you and will miss you greatly. To the graduating class, this year was an awesome year. We had our rough times, but when we needed each other, we stuck through it and pulled together. Bonds have been made at this school that will never be broken. We've seen each other grow and mature from our first day of preschool to where we sit tonight. We have so much potential and we can do anything and everything. All we have to do is try. We have set goals and precedents for ourselves. We know that the time that we have spent here has had some effect on our lives. The teachers here have taught us that anything is possible to believe in ourselves. We must remember that God is there for us when we need Him. He is a friend that will never leave, and He will be a guide to lead us through our rough times. He will never stop loving us, and He is the still small voice inside us, pushing us to do the right thing. Tonight, as we sit here, I think about everything we've gone through together. I know that this is the last time we will be here as a class. We may see each other from time to time, but we will never again be classmates at PAES. This year has been great. We've really grown and matured. I know personally that I will miss this school so much, and I am not the only one. I just keep thanking God that we're all here, because without His extra help, we wouldn't be here today. He has played a great role in all of our lives and will continue to do so. Through Him, everything is possible. My hope for the future is that one day we'll all be reunited in heaven.
With analysis and explanation. Here's a chronological account, analysis and explanation of what has happened in the development of the class of 1996. The largest class ever to graduate from Howland Halls of Portland Adventist Elementary School. For 6 of us, life at PAES began in preschool. Mr. Billoff was the principal and Mrs. Adams was the teacher. The lifers who began their educational experience here were Carrie May, Aaron Johnson, Lori Krause, Susan Ward, Justin Zabel, and Matt Ballou. We learned important skills like coloring, playing with building blocks, and playing together without getting hurt. When we got in trouble, we had to sit in a pink chair far away from the rest of the class. We called it getting pink, as in, hey Dad, I got pinked today. Our class began kindergarten in the fall of 1987. Mrs. Leith was our fearless leader that year. 7 more people joined the class of 1996. Ryan Case, Christy Go, Jordan Meyer, Lindsay Montgomery, Tim Taylor, Mandy Ward, and Aaron Ward. We started losing our teeth, and eating corn on the cob became a real chore. Spitting water became a lot easier. In kindergarten, we learned that the lines are our friends until we stay within the lines. When we got in trouble at recess, we had to sit on the wall. In 1988, Mrs. York and Mrs. Davidson undertook the awesome responsibility of teaching us how to read. Our class grew to 24 as 11 people joined us. Raymond Betts, Scott Levengood, Brian Marshall, Everett Roberts, Allison Woods, Christopher Farthing, Misty Hopkins, Aaron Jordan, Sean Olivier, Lisa Topp, and Ken Shipley. During first grade, we did some very creative things. We performed in a play about Jonah called The Runaway, and we wrote a cookbook. Our teachers wrote down the recipes word for word, and here's Misty Hopkins' recipe for popcorn. Put those kinds of seeds in a pan and put the pan on this big thing with little circles on top. The stove! You spin the pan around until the seeds start popping, and then you have popcorn. We gave up naps and could use real scissors. When we got in trouble, we had to stand in the corner. 1989, we began second grade. Mr. McDonald became our principal, and Mrs. Collins and Mrs. Zill were our teachers. Only 2 people joined our class during that year, Sparkle Beatute and David Nicholson. We left the decade of the 80s and entered the decade of the 90s. During that year, neon colors, side ponytails, and those great singing artists Milli Vanilli were popular. We became whizzes at adding and subtracting, and if we got in trouble in second grade, we were given little red strips of paper and we had to run around the track. In the school year of 1990, this was our last year in the lower wing. Mrs. Stinson and Mr. Hunter were our teachers. 4 more people joined our class: Shahrazad Khan, Max Wood, Justin Lee, and Holly Ann Sherman. And by third grade, 30 members of the class of 1996 were attending PAES. In January of that school year, the United States entered the Persian Gulf War, and a new phrase was coined: it was the mother of all battles. We got our first hardback textbooks, and we learned our multiplication tables. When we broke the rules, we had to miss recess. In the fall of 1991, our class began the middle grades. Mrs. England taught 4th grade, and Mrs. Stinson, a real glutton for punishment, signed on for another year with our class in the 3rd-4 split. Hannah Wang was the only person to join our class during this year, and the punishment for 4th grade was that we had to learn long division. In 5th grade, Mr. England and Mrs. Green taught us, and MIko Phillipi, Stacy Ridgely, and Liam Kindrigan joined us. Our class was featured on the evening news, and we learned valuable lessons about the beauty and value of all of God's children. Unfortunately, this was also the very first year of the dreaded punch card, where sins of tardiness, gum chewing, and improper physical contact were recorded with dreaded certainty. Of course, in 5th grade, improper physical contact meant pushing, shoving, roughhousing, etc. In 6th grade, Mr. Schnell and Mrs. Morton were our teachers. During the 93-94 school year, Lucy Crawford, Jason Kunzler, Marcus Turner, and Justin Reese joined us. This was the year of 3-page reports, less recess time, Tanya Harding, and the DARE anti-drug program. This was the last year of elementary school. Mrs. Morton took our punch card to new heights. One member of this class, who will remain anonymous to protect the guilty, broke the school record for the most punches in 1 year. In 1994 brought junior high, blockers, dressing down for PE, and a real variety of teachers: Mrs. Savino, Mr. Kingman, Mrs. Williams, and Mr. French. 10 people joined our class: Michael Bixel, Yun Ko, Tennyson Hooper, Vanessa Sands, Dylan White, Laura Lee Mitchell, Ryan Sullivan, Ben Whitted, Zach Hinsdale, and Tyson Nemechek. We were finally able to participate in the school sports program. When we got in trouble, we learned the meaning of some new words: detention and suspension. In August 1995, and not a moment too soon, we began our final year at Portland Adventist. 5 people we wanted to save the best for last joined us: John Griffin, Sue Jim Leonard, Jeremiah Hansen, Thad Martin, Lauren Smith, Harris Sandberg, Amber Lurica, and Alicia Woods. We were finally the big men and women on campus. We were enthralled with the trial of the century, and our views of the system of justice in America were shaped by O.J.'s trial. We went to Bend for our class trip, and punch cards were still the punishment of choice. But now the infraction of improper physical contact meant something totally different. We came to PAES as children. We leave on the brink of adulthood. It has been, to say in the least, an interesting relationship. We have, in at least some small way, made PAES a part of what it is, and to a greater extent, PAES has made us what we are. Thank you, Class of 1996, and thank you, PAES.
Sujin Leonard.
MIko Phillipi.
Shahrazad Khan.